everyone. I'm gonna wait for Matt to. Come on, Matt. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to get my iPad to cooperate. Go. Here we go. All right. So the board met in executive session prior to the meeting to discuss land preservation and personnel. The board will also be meeting after the meeting to discuss personnel as well in a brief executive session. The next comment I have is service commendation. Oh boy, I'm gonna mess this up because I do it all the time. Officer Peffall.
Yeah.
All right, because it's 2S, you can do it 2 different ways. I'm going to turn this over to Chief.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. One of the more pleasurable things I get to do is to recognize officers for great police work. Tonight, we would like to recognize Patrol Officer First Class Kate Peffall for her actions on June 13th, where she was instrumental in the apprehension of 3 fleeing felons. So I have Officer Peffall come forward and I'll read the citation for everyone. This is an officer citation of Commendation award to New Britain Township Police Officer, Patrol Officer First Class Catherine Peffall, otherwise known as Kate. Whereas on June 13th, 2022, the above named officer displayed teamwork and dedication to duty in excess of the norm, which contributed to the arrest of 3 dangerous felons who committed 2 carjackings in surrounding jurisdictions. Whereas Patrol Officer First Class Catherine Peffall was working the night shift when 2 area townships experienced 2 separate carjackings committed by 3 black males. PFC Peffall became aware that the actors had just fled in one of the stolen vehicles from a Warrington Township officer, possibly headed into New Britain Township on South Lincoln Pike towards Butler Avenue. As PSC Peffall strategically positioned herself in this area, she witnessed the stolen vehicle crash into a nearby building. Immediately and without delay, after advising of the crash, PSC Peffall cleared the stolen vehicle of any possible actors hiding and initiated a foot pursuit of the actors she saw running from the scene. PSC Peffall was able to pursue and simultaneously relay pertinent information to responding officers on where she last saw the actors running. This information was crucial to the responding canine officer who PFC Peffall linked up with and assisted in searching, locating, and apprehending 2 of the actors hiding under a deck in an RV of a residential home without any further incidents. Whereas PSC Peffall's dedication to duty, professionalism, and demeanor led to the arrest of 3 dangerous felons whose actions directly threatened the safety of township residents. Therefore, be it further resolved that PSC Peffall be recognized and presented this citation of commendation for outstanding actions in performance of her duties as a member of the New Britain Township Police Department. Presented this 11th day of July, 2022, the New Britain Township Board of Supervisors.
Now she has to do a picture of the board, sorry.
Get the back.
I was gonna say we got.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You wanna- So you did.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Thank
Congratulations.
you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks.
How is it? Thank you. Appreciate you reading that. That was quite a tangle of words there.
Sometimes difficult to come up with this.
Gotcha.
Well worth it.
Yes, it was. All right, next on the agenda is presentation items. This evening we have none. The next on the agenda then is subdivision land development projects. These are for information only. Any possible action might be taken at a next or a future business meeting. We will start with 267 Creek Road preliminary plan application. Is the applicant here?
Yes, Rob, pick up or, you pick up a new client, you pick up a new client, all right, they're not here. They were advised to be here for presentation and approval in August, so it's just a lot line change. We had no comments of planning commission. We'll have a resolution ready for you at your August meeting for approval. It's about as small as the project can get. The applicant did indicate at planning commission, you have a memo in front of you, I believe in your packets. Why is he doing this? He needs to go approval, he needs a little more land. I said one of this get variances, his neighbor going to sell some property, so that's the reason for it.
Okay.
That's it, that's the project. Staff will prepare a resolution for approval at your next meeting, unless anybody has any comments.
Does the board have any comments or questions?
No.
No? All right. Well, that was simple.
I will
Hopefully
not
the
I will not
next
do that
two-
for the next two.
Hopefully the next two are simple. The next applicant on the agenda is 396 King Road, sketch plan application.
Good evening, Rob Cunningham, Holmes Cunningham Engineering. I'm here on behalf of Castellani Builders for 396 King Road. It's a sketch plan. It's a 36-acre tract of land on King Road, just north of the lake. The applicant is proposing 6 lots, retaining the existing home and then 5 new homes on a private cul-de-sac road. We have a review letter from Gilmore, pretty good conversation with the planning commission. Just some highlights of the plan. We're proposing a cul-de-sac road that would be 20 feet wide and around the bulb of the cul-de-sac. That was a comment from the fire marshal. It would be privately owned and maintained. There would be a homeowners association to maintain the road. We're also looking at maintaining King Road in kind of its current form, improving it a little bit based on some direction from Gilmore and the Public Works Director. Instead of, we would be requesting a partial waiver instead of a complete waiver. We wouldn't be doing curb and sidewalk along King Road. Obviously, that's not the nature of that road today. What Gilmore has requested, along with the Public Works Director, is providing a little bit of a shoulder to the existing cartway, 2 feet on our side of the road. And then some improvements around the intersection of our driveway with King Road, obviously, so as people are turning in and turning out, they have a little bit more room, so it's not tight. And those are will comply items in terms of, meeting the conditions. But those will be waivers we're requesting as we get through the land development process. Other than that, most of the waivers are related to roadway improvements, internal and external. in general, we're trying to keep the nature of the neighborhood. You know, keep it more rural. Everybody will have their own on-lot septic systems. Again, it's 36 acres. We believe a subdivision much more dense could be proposed, but if anybody's familiar with Mr. Castellani, what he'd like to do is nice high-end homes. And this development would be very desirable for it.
I was gonna ask you, I think Mr. Castellani said a minimum of 4,000 square foot houses up to maybe 6,000 or more.
Yeah, that's what they'll be looking at, obviously,
So we're
market
not talking,
conditions.
right.
Yeah.
And then you kind of hit on it, he could have a lot more lots on his property. I think the smallest lot size is 3.7 acres up to almost 8-acre lot in the back.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's the scale here we're talking, which minimum lot size is like just
80,000 square feet.
Yeah, 1.8 acres, so.
The intention is to, large enough lots where we can preserve enough natural resources on each lot while still giving the homeowners enough space to put the pools in, put the patios, not have it go to the zoning hearing board every time. Last thing you want to do is buy a $1 million home and have to go trip to the zoning hearing board when you want to do anything. So Joe thinks he has a really good development program here. We're here to get any feedback. I mean, obviously there are some waivers, but we think, you know, we came up with the appropriate plan for the development.
Other than the road waivers, what other waivers?
We don't believe we will need any.
Planning committee, you know, your planning commission memo, they supported the cul-de-sac layout, which is unique. We haven't seen set up like this. The width is okay, but the fire marshal 20 foot is minimal. We'll address that. But due to the nature and scale of the houses, the lots, this is about as rural layout as you've seen. We did one other one, I guess, recently, hasn't been constructed yet, but all the waivers will be tied to the curb, sidewalks, the geometry of the cul-de-sac. They've agreed to all public improvements per our recommendation of public works. So I think it's more rural setting, 2 foot shoulder, drainage improvements, but we're not talking full widening. Provide small excel and decel lane, not lane, but just when you're pulling out.
A little bit of a taper, maybe a
Taper.
bigger through.
So we wouldn't widen the whole way, but majority of the waivers just related to the actual layout of the proposed road that will be maintained by an HOA. I think all stormwater management is individual, each individual lot.
Correct.
One lot will take care of the road and the HOA will have to be part of that stormwater management. So it's kind of each lot is self-contained mini land development. And the preserve is about as much natural resource as they can based on this layout there. Mr. Casanante is honoring, as he does in other jobs, the natural resources on the property, try to incorporate the layout of the lots. That's why the one lot's 8 acres, and how we drew the boundaries on there. So I think Mr. didn't have anything that they were concerned about as long as they agreed to what's in our letter. And the board's happy with this type of layout.
Just 2 questions. First has to do with the intersection with King Road. You're talking about adding, you said 2 feet?
Well, it would be 2 feet along the entire length of road. If you're familiar with that section of King Road, it's about a 10-foot lane with almost no shoulder.
Yes.
So we would just be giving you a little bit of cars, a little bit of relief area, the entire length. And then at the intersection, we'd basically be pulling our radii back and then tapering into the road over a 75-foot area.
My concern is for if there would be school-age children who would be catching a bus or school bus or something, that they would have a place that's safe to stand off the road a bit.
Yeah.
The other question I have is, if this is the subdivision, can we request that there be no further subdivision of any of these lots in there?
Yeah, there'd be a deed restriction protecting the natural resources on all the lots. So obviously, no further subdivision would be obviously the
Yeah, there'll be
easiest
no
step.
conservation easements over lands, but we can add that no matter what to make sure.
Run into that.
No, we have had a couple where people go get variances, so if you can just add in.
Yep.
The record plan, no further subdivision.
Is the existing building that's there, is that one all the way in the back?
Yep.
Yes, correct. That
Right,
one's,
so that's the largest lot.
it's one of the larger lots. It's almost 7 acres.
One above it's
The
8.
one that's-
That one's 8. It's just the configuration.
It looks very similar to the development we had 20 years ago, one number somewhere. Remember that one coming off?
Stone Creek Lane?
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, this is, I mean, I think it's a wider road, but. pretty much the same.
Basically,
I don't have any issues with, just since they comply, they're going to comply with our letter. As long as you're okay with this type of development, I think we're on the same page, how it has to be designed, and the improvements needed.
One other question. I saw something in the memo about street lighting.
Stuff like that, like they're willing to do driveways, a lamp post, I think, and full streetlights.
Right.
We've done that on all their jobs so far, so. We're okay with that.
Obviously, we're trying to keep this as rural as possible. Obviously, it's a subdivision with its own private street, but lamp posts at each driveway would be the most we would want to do.
We just did that. What was the one that was,
South Drive.
the Sal, yeah, the Sal.
so
And then also Mohan, which hasn't been.
Yeah.
Do you think that you'd be doing anything like solar panels or anything else that's, since you're saying that these are going to be very high-end homes?
So these would be purely custom. So it would be an option that people would, that Joe would offer, but wouldn't be able to guarantee that.
No, I was just wondering if it would be one of those things that.
Oh, I would imagine so, yeah.
if you're gonna have an HOA, that would be, something to be governed. In there to allow it or not allow it. So
Correct. I don't, and, we had a discussion about the HOA at the planning commission, what they can and can't restrict. Obviously, that's something that they could allow. I don't know that they could require it. But yeah, I think that allowing them is a very simple thing to do.
5%, each of them.
Any other comments from the board, staff, had anything else to offer?
Thank
Thank you very much.
So that you're preserving as much as the land as possible.
That was relatively painful, painless. Next, project on the
First,
700 Manor Drive. I did it on purpose.
Mr.
Gas
Murphy
plant
can change that if
application.
you like. And make it painful if you want.
Good evening, I'm Ed Murphy. I'm here tonight with Bill Reardon from Bowling to talk about lot 4 of the written corporate stuff. End of last year, I think, our client, JG Petrucci, purchased entirely from Equus. I don't know if you've had any familiarity with JG Petrucci, but I think Frank probably has. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't
the
think
rest
they have. They have not.
JG Petrucci is a firm with whom Bill and I have done a lot of work over the years. They have a pretty strong presence in multiple municipalities in Bucks County. And they do both multifamily and they do flex and other industrial office type of projects. I would encourage you to reach out to any of your adjacent municipalities. I'll give you a list of all the different projects they've done, but they have been very well received wherever we've gone in Central Bucks and Lower Bucks. So they have a very good reputation. What we're here tonight to talk about is, and Bill will go through it with you, is their plans for one of the remaining pieces within lot 4. And we have had the benefit of Craig's review. Bill went to your planning commission meeting a week or so, 10 days ago. Weren't a whole lot of comments about it, but I did talk to Sean today about a threshold issue, which we'll get to in a minute. But perhaps first, Bill can sort of walk everybody through the big picture, and then a more specific plan, and then we can talk about what other issues that we want to discuss as outlined in Craig's office's review.
As far as an example of GGP's work, I mean, literally right down Park, the intersection of Main Street and Chalfont, yeah, Patriot Station, they did that. So that is a GGP project. So lot 4, as Ed had indicated, JGP had purchased some of the remaining land from Equus at the end of last year, beginning of this year. That's lot 4 is on this side, so you've got Manor that connects with County Line, and you have Schoolhouse here that leads you out to Butler. So there was an empty pad next to CHOP, which was recently the primary care that was recently built. And then there's this pad that's opposite where A. Weber is. So tonight we're only here for just this pad. This pad was originally approved for a 2-story office building that was just under 60,000 square feet. So what this proposal is a 1-story structure warehouse. We called it a flex, but I think by ordinance, we're probably looking at this more like a warehouse type use. 60,000 square foot, single story. We're kind of reconfiguring the front parking area so that now the front of the building aligns with that second main entrance that comes off of Manor, which is right behind the Rothman building. And then the whole rear portion of this would essentially be where the loading is, where you have drive-in bays or actual trailer bays at the back of the building. More blow up view of building loading behind. You'd have the access out the rear, and then you have the main access out the front for essentially all of the employees that would come to the building. So Ed indicated we submitted the sketch plan. Gilmore had reviewed it. It pretty much outlines what we'd have to do through land development. Some of the threshold issue I think that we want to talk about is the use itself. Our submission was originally called out as a K-18 flex use, which is essentially office and industrial combined, which is permitted in the underlying zoning, but not necessarily permitted as part of the F6 business campus, which lot 4 was originally designed as. Originally, it was almost 310,000 square feet of office. It was subdivided off the apartments, which was lot 5. So what was left was essentially the ability to be about 150, 160,000 square feet of office. So this would be a different use than what was originally approved. But I think what we're looking at more is that this be more of the K3 use, which is a warehouse use, which, you have a warehouse tenant that has some office component to it, some storage component. So you would have the office potentially that have access from the front, and then all the storage and loading would be off the rear.
Right. I think Craig's letter correctly highlighted the fact that you don't have a use that's a flex use that is referred to by itself. But this district does permit warehousing and it permits offices, which is effectively what we're proposing anyway. So I think maybe the easiest thing is just not call it a flex building. We'll call it what it really is, and then just move ahead in that fashion. But we'll take your direction. We want to be transparent. I mean, the thought is there would be an office component to the building, but clearly the principal use of that building would be warehousing, with a smaller component part of an office occupied or used by the same firm that would do the warehousing. So it would not be separately tenanted by some other office user. So.
And the other thing to clarify too, as far as the warehouse is concerned, this is not at 60,000 square feet. This is not what you would think is a typical warehouse where you have tons of tractor trailers in and out, where you've got goods coming in and being like a distribution center. This is too small for that type of use. This is really more of like a multi-tenant type space that has, some smaller companies that have their smaller loading areas that are accessing the rear. So you may have the occasional tractor trailer, but it's probably more, larger single unit trucks that would probably be coming to a facility like this. So it's not big enough necessarily to support what people would envision as being a traditional warehousing distribution type use.
Two questions.
Yep.
Just, I don't think what Ed said you did say, planning commission, maybe you discussed it more, but
Yeah.
the office would still be one tenant. You're talking one user. You're not talking the office is supporting the warehouse.
Correct,
Okay,
correct.
maybe that wasn't clear at planning.
Yeah, so, yeah, at the
That's
time,
what I
we weren't
understood,
sure,
yes.
correct. At the time, we wanted to get feedback to try to understand
Okay.
which way we would need.
That makes a lot of,
Correct.
is there a limit? Did you look, is there a limit on how much office?
No, that's the one thing, yeah, I didn't see,
Sometimes
that.
it's 20% or,
That's the K
I
eighteen
thought it
flex.
was
yeah, that's.
even
pretty-
less than that when it's a warehousing in an office.
I know.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
There's-
that
there
they
was
would-
nothing in the
Want you
ordinance.
to go through land development, be okay, and then you hit building, and all of a sudden, you pull something else. So we'll, as you go through this,
We should
circle
confirm.
around the rate of building code.
I actually have a much bigger issue that I want to talk about, and that is, I don't like the orientation of the building. I definitely don't like the tractor trailer bays being on the Schoolhouse Road, Chop, New Seasons side where you have a lot more pedestrian, public driving in and out, looking at things. A Weber is a ghost building at this point. I mean, I don't see them getting rid of the building because it's where their infrastructure is. And I know we can't really dictate what A Weber is gonna do, but if that parking lot's not being used and isn't gonna be used for the future necessarily, and it isn't facing out into the residential and the rest of the world, I'd rather see the trucks on the other side of the building, to be honest.
On this side of the building.
Yes. Because you have all these truck bays staring out at a residential facility for senior citizens. Both the child
Daycare,
facilities,
child
the
facilities.
daycare, where pedestrians are walking, where, that access right there, that little brown line where that is actually emergency access up there, the people are walking through there all the time. You can see into the Highlands there. I really am not partial to that layout. Just not.
I'll go one step before that and say, I don't think this is a great fit for this business park. I don't see how this fits with all the other things that are around there, which is medical and as you said, the pediatrics and then the specialty. And then I just don't, even if you say it's not tractor trailers, just truck traffic in general. And if you're saying it's going to be lots of multiple people in there, then that's like the storage bay that we have across the road. So I honestly don't like it at all. For that location, for that business.
Well, so let me ask you a question, just giggles. This is the other open lot there on that site. It backups
I just want to reorient
Bowler,
myself.
specialty.
Yeah. So it
Giant.
backs up to the.
So why is this facility not able to be built on that other lot?
So we've
the
looked at,
center.
that, we've analyzed that, and a lot of it is driven by the particulars of the loading operation that you need for this type of a building. You need not only the ability to access it, but then you also need elevation to work to your favor. The lot that is across from us, lot 2, dead flat.
Okay.
And access to come in and out of there is much more hampered because the roads are a lot smaller. This has got direct access from Manor Drive. And it already has a road that leads right into the back here. So for an access and trying to minimize impact to the rest of the center, this works much better from an access standpoint. And from an elevation standpoint, it's significantly better because this whole parking lot, high to low.
Right.
So high being the front, low being the back, where it's automatically set up to accommodate what is usually a 4-foot drop for any type of loading. So that's why this checks the box, so many more boxes than lot 2.
I'll confirm with the board that the K3 use does not have any limitations or dictate the ratio of warehousing to office space that can be used in that use.
I jump in because I'm gonna try to address those two, and then I know their client, I know these two are well, I know their clients always wants to work with the township community. They're a great business or owner to have in the township, and they have a big portfolio too. And I know since this came in, the board prefer more office than warehouse. Problem is, they really want to come in with K18 and do flex, so they're not sure on multiple tenants. But unfortunately, the F6 use says each use must have its own lot. They're not going to start carving off lots I don't have that in other townships. I don't know why that was set up years ago to have a business campus where you can't have multiple uses, or they have to be on a separate lot. They'd have to go to the zoning hearing board for a flex space K-18. That would give them a lot more flexibility to market that. That would provide more office and less warehousing. That would get more towards an office building than a warehouse, maybe some, but, or, now that is a trip to zoning hearing board, but it sounds like you can support more office, more flexibility. Different types of uses there. I don't know if JG wants to look at, you were obviously heading towards flex, so you had, you were looking at multiple tenants, multiple, uses in there. And I know this board's not real keen on a warehouse there, so this is why we're here. There is a path to go with your support of, and then we'll go to zoning hearing board if it's not support, but maybe they can talk to their client about something more palatable to you. If it's a trip to the ZHB, then they can come back here, present again, and then maybe make that trip. That's obviously their choice. We can't require it, but that would reduce warehousing further or eliminate it. Come up with these uses are, some of them are outdated, and you probably could update that. I don't want to be on that whole path. I don't think you want to update the F6 at this point, so I'm just putting it out, but you still have lot 2, right?
Correct. Well, but lot 2, I don't think that's its own lot, so it's basically pretty much. Right, I mean,
Not part of the F6 though. Yeah, it's the whole business campus use that was labeled on that.
So can you show me on the other map?
Yes,
Where you have all, when you're saying you have,
what was your question?
what have you purchased from the other? Can
So,
you tell us that?
all right, so what they purchased is this, which is lot 2. Okay. You have the open area next to CHOP, which is, this is all lot 4. It basically goes all the way down to the trees. This is the conservation area. A Weber. So it's here, here. And here. You can tell this was already pretty much improved for an office building that generally looked like our office building. And they built this, but this was only single story. This is supposed to be 2-story. They built it as a single story. But they've done nothing with this yet.
I mean, that's been sitting vacant.
18 years.
Mhm.
I mean, we've been in this building for 18 years,
Yeah.
so. And then this was designed as well, actually, the pad is actually right here. This was office. This was one office building, actually. It's like 31,600 square feet. And they split it and they built CHOP, which is about 9,000 square feet. So this was a 2-story office, single-story office, 2-story office, 50,000 square feet.
So.
Nobody wants office.
Right, I was just gonna say, this is identical to a property that we've been discussing and hearing about, and I know there's a lot of office space that's vacant. And I think someone had raised the question, but that's, never mind. I think my main concern would be tractor trailer traffic.
Mhm.
Sure, we'd like to see office space or more medical offices, but we can't tell them what to build.
Well, if none of us were hamstrung by the ordinance, you guys and us, what would you rather see there?
Yeah.
That's the only-
Yeah, it's the office. That's what I'm talking about.
Warehousing, just, yeah, not.
Warehouse. And manufacturing, I mean, you mentioned to me a company did manufacturing as well, so depends what type it is, but something
We're
that's.
talking like R&D type
Maybe
space.
that would be, that's okay. I think they're open, they work with you guys on something that's, you just have to attack the zoning ordinance to make it palatable for.
I'm gonna throw a real curve in here. Have you already purchased that lot?
Yeah,
Just
we own it.
We have it, our client has.
because there's another lot that's being built on County Line Road that they finally started building a warehouse.
Oh, further up,
Yeah.
what, is that what, Navin? The
Yeah,
Navin
nothing,
piece?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
One other quick little, where are you you getting the parking for the building? Are you sharing the parking lot with A Weber?
Yes,
And there's enough,
yeah, so
I know A Weber doesn't use a single
no,
spot.
it's a single space. The other thing to remember is when this was originally designed, this was designed for Daimler Chrysler, it was a
Yes.
call center. This whole thing was parked at 6 per thousand.
Yes, yes.
So it was like crazy, and they
Yes.
were in there for like 3.5 months or whatever, it was,
Yep.
and they were out. So there's way more parking here than anybody needs. So
Okay.
even with us eating into the parking field, we still have
Still
enough
have
to hit
sufficient.
4 per thousand for all the buildings. out there.
Said 219 spots.
And,
Yeah, it's a big piece. I mean, the overall, lot 4 is almost 30 acres.
Oh, yeah, I taught my son how to drive in that parking lot. So. A lot of people do.
They take a good, they all-wheel drive and go do donuts in there.
I saw something else about the overlay district, issues with that.
That's all goofed up too.
Yeah, I was a part of that.
Yeah, nobody should take ownership of that.
Like, that's why I said Butler Avenue is up
Well,
here.
yeah, we know we're both happy.
Yeah,
but
so
still-
I'm saying,
wonder why the open
Somehow,
former staff
if,
of this.
I still don't understand how it led all the way deep
It
into.
goes
We
with
don't
Cedar
even-
Hill Road,
Cedar Hill Road, it went in because of those parcels that have
it goes way too
partially.
far back.
I know, I know, I
told-
know.
Look, this is already approved and most of it's built out. I
Yeah.
said, look, meet the spirit of it and we're good.
Right. I
Additional
mean,
lands- I mean, there's not much they could
I
do.
think
you
it's-
walk down Manor and then in front of the apartments and you look at what we did
Oh, yeah.
over there. I mean, and that kind of continues here. I mean, that streetscape, I mean, I think it achieves what you're probably trying to achieve on Butler, but more suited to this part.
And it
Because I
wasn't-
don't recall seeing any of that overlay requirement really along Manor anywhere else, so that's why. I
But
was
thank
kind of-
goodness they put it in South Road, so it's movable and it can be part of, trying to create something one.
I think what we're concerned about is keeping that streetscape, that green sort of walk with
Yeah, not so
whatever's
much, which,
behind it to sort of,
So-
soften.
And that's the thing we're keeping, like
Right.
this here, this is all green. So, I mean, granted, these is just illustrative and you could do what, there's some easements we'd have to work around, but you could do something here to nip
do
the
a
spruce out.
mound or something there.
but it is like you say, it goes downhill from there. So where you have all those loading bays, it goes downhill all the way down. You can see, like I said, there's Season's Job, the daycare. All
Right.
of that's very exposed to anyone that's downhill.
Right, so we have a strip back here that we could put landscaping in. The one thing that we have looked at since this plan was actually submitted is I would probably think that will go away. Just from an elevation standpoint, it doesn't work. So this would probably close off here, so you would have additional landscaping here, so you would have a continuous screen that would go all the way around that, so that can help. It doesn't address it totally, but it's definitely something.
So what is keeping the building from being more of a box between the two roads and the loading docks being against the back of the fire station?
Turn it this way.
Yeah, turn it up
It's
90
a rec-
degrees.
It's a rectangle, the building would be smaller.
Yeah, it would be. you would
Well,
be
is
impacted
there anything
by-
wrong with the building being small?
I
Your
think for the
standpoint, no.
developer, it's a problem. I don't have a problem, but the developer may not see it as being a great thing.
But do you need all the,
I
if you're changing it to turn into having smaller companies in, many smaller companies in that, would you need that many bays at one?
Not
time?
necessarily.
And
no.
that
This,
big?
this,
'Cause
this
they
is,
look-
right, this is basically to show you worst case scenario, right? This is what could be built back here, not necessarily what will be built.
No, it's okay. No, it's
Good.
good. This is
No,
good.
this is
Yeah.
good.
There's
Yeah.
no- no, that sort of thing.
I'll
I mean,
throw out.
I could see, like you were saying, turn that thing 90 degrees and have the front of the building now going, looking out to Manor Drive. The back would be where your loading dock area would be, but you could square up the building a little bit more. All right, if you say it won't fit in because you can't quite turn it on 90 degrees without your setback.
And if you're gonna need less loading bays, you just have all the loading bays on the downhill side. I don't know, I'm trying to, I mean, you work at the Bowler Building, obviously. run on that road 3 times a week. I'm always running through there. I'm always very aware of what it looks like. And this, for 18 years, something like this doesn't feel like it fits in there. That rendering looks great, but it's not showing the loading bays
Well, yeah,
facing
well,
out.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
I mean, I love, yeah. That
It's
looks
from the high
great.
side,
But
not from
it's-
where all
yeah.
the people are. Yeah, it's
All the
wrong
people
direction.
are walking through the intersection that is the convenience for your
Well-
traffic flow.
Well,
I hate to bring up another possibility. I know I'm not sure. We have a fire access road right there.
Oh, goodness gracious.
School
No,
bus
no,
would
no.
not
You-
hang
School
on.
house
so
doesn't
that's the other thing is,
What?
yeah, we couldn't go back here.
But they're going to-
Where would you be thinking the cycling
Yeah,
of the trucks would be going? Where do
So-
you think those would
So,
go?
so they have to. They can't go here.
Yep.
They have to go here.
Which is where you want them.
Correct, that's
Yeah,
exactly where you want them, because this,
But
this
then they
gets you
all
right
have
down to
go
the
through that
parkway.
four-way intersection, which is where everybody's coming out from the shopping center, daycare center, shop.
It'd be better if they were coming through that the next intersection up. No,
No, back by the
Go to your
building.
building, go to your building.
Here's my building.
No,
No.
sorry, the new building.
What are you trying to sell us?
Now move your finger just a little bit down, no, the other way, down, right there.
Oh,
Yeah,
Out there.
out there, because
That
Yeah.
other.
I see what you're saying,
intersection,
because of.
That's a.
there's
Yeah.
a
There's
ton
a
of
lot of
people that
traffic
use that
coming in.
intersection,
And I won't say there are older people coming through there, but there are old people.
and a lot of
Oh, yeah.
kids too.
Yeah, I know.
That would lend itself then again to return the building 90%. 9 degrees.
Then they
That
can
way they
circle
can
that
come
way.
right on out.
See, this is what happens. Yes.
Well, they
You
wanted
say
our,
no to warehouse,
they-
you start
they
engineering,
wanted
for
our
them, and then they
input.
leave.
They
like,
wanted our
Then they
input.
come back in and you're like, I don't like warehouse. Well, you helped engineer the whole out. Okay, warehouse, as long as they turn it now.
Look, the concept
I
of
heard
a
no to
warehouse,
warehouse.
no to warehouse, because
Well, then
it is
you
going
just
to
hope
show,
that-
well, because of trucks, because I'm assuming with those big loading bays, it was going to be full on 18-wheel. Settings.
You're designing it
You're-
to accommodate it, right?
Yeah,
So
you are.
you don't know where this is going to be, so you need to make sure that it works for any potential option.
Yes, then I'm back to no warehousing. Because if it comes in with a client who wants to build something really big, then no.
Now, and unfortunately, it's permitted, so.
Yeah.
Well, you know that. And I was gonna say something, I think you two were whispering a little bit. I don't know if this board ever saw any other proposals that you guys discussed. I don't know what your feelings on it. Of any other type of uses for that
Oh,
property.
we've seen the townhome plans.
Teenage restrictions.
Did all-
Oh, these are old.
Oh, very good.
Yeah. I didn't think-
Some may have.
So he says
I'm
age
sitting here
restricted,
thinking
yeah,
that.
you say age restricted and then you chuckle, does that mean?
No, I chuckled because I said there's a townhome plan that came in for that parcel. at one
We
point,
didn't do
too.
it, but yes, I know about it.
Warehouse is fine. Warehouse is fine.
That's fine, that's why we're here. I just want to get that on record. All right, so no residential, no mixed use. The other option, and then Sean and I were talking, I would throw out, if you want to go down this path, is amend the F6 use with this board, petition change the zoning, and you guys craft some, you come back with some additional uses that the client wants for all 3 pad sites. You got other 2 pad sites. Kick around the uses in there and then have another come back to. No, I'm not talking, you just told me that. But we're getting a lot more, technology's changing, this warehouse, everything's changing. We've got some other warehouses that are, 40 something high now. So I'm just throwing out there, is that something to take back? I don't see an issue with.
I think the warehouse issue that I think the biggest issue with the idea of warehouse is that we envisioned all these tractor trailers driving in and out. And I share the concern with residential and shopping center. And, everyone going to Rothman's not in the best shape, so we have to take that into consideration. But
You don't leave us much choice.
But my theory is, it's not townhouses, let's talk
Not
not him. Why is
Anything
that?
but townhouse.
Why is that?
We have enough of them spraying.
This is a
all over
business
the
park,
place.
yeah.
Yeah.
Forget about, Sam, what about apartments? I mean, what's wrong with that? I mean, if you're looking to try to do something different, you don't like any of the uses that were allowed. What do you,
I'm not saying I don't like what you're thinking. They're,
I love the idea of R&D. I mean, R&D doesn't require tractor trailers and, tons of vehicular traffic in and out of it. I mean,
Depends on what your
it
R&D.
does- yeah, it does depend
Yeah,
on
it
what R&D
depends.
is,
if
true.
there was a way we could duplicate the Pennsylvania biotechnology place in Buckingham, but I don't think that's likely. I mean, I'm involved with that, and have been from the get-go, but
you gotta build a
Weren't they going
viable
to
project.
try
Hmm?
and, weren't they going to try and duplicate that on the cemetery side on is it Peffall Road?
Oh, you're talking about, so that's in Warrington. And
Yes, right
Warrington,
over the road.
they redid their ordinance. We're working on that. And yes, it's going to be something that is the same thing. It's actually called flex, where it can be, a combination of warehousing and or office research development. That's what that whole new zoning district that they created is trying to encourage.
Do we have a light warehousing used?
And she's about.
Because
Well,
Strowman, the
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 bakery.
bakery, they kind of threw out that whole concept of it's a light warehousing where they're only using small bread trucks. It's,
I guess my point is, if they come in, they still, if they want to do multiple uses, they're stuck with one use per building, per unit. So either they at least go to zoning hearing board and address that, if that's what you want to work on multiple uses. Or you're stuck with, you're stuck with a warehouse or office that can't, they don't work for office.
Or we look at the zoning.
This, we want where we do it together, if you want to do that, they would work with us, and we present it to you, and then you chew it up.
no, you can't amend.
Plans.
Oh, no, not their plans. I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
your
The
ordinance.
original plan for that development can't retroactively say, we'll allow this now. We could
You-
say,
No, no,
But
but
it might not fit to what they want to do, and they usually have them come back with some ideas, and then wait, doesn't matter which one of these two takes the lead on it. But,
It ends up in the same.
Depends on
place.
who's ready to check.
I was trying
No,
to. say
I
that.
I was talking about looking at the zoning ordinance that applies to these
Yeah.
parcels like you were. And saying, well, maybe we need to update it because it
Well,
was.
they would do a petition to
Okay.
propose to update it, and then you would give.
It
feedback.
was a. it
I'm
was
saying
a,
I would rather have it
what's
come
called?
to us than go to the zoning.
No,
No,
it's
it's
a,
actually, this way it's all with us.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
it was,
That's why I suggested.
do you
Text
remember?
amendment states.
I can't remember the apartments. That was what's it called? How did we do that? Because that was a change.
So this was first the subdivision, and then we did a text amendment, and we created,
Yes.
we modified, and we created a use just for
Right,
these like
yes.
garden style apartments.
Right.
It was a multifamily use. I think it's P7, maybe. I forget what the number is. P7 possibly.
What do they call that when, what's that whole
That's-
process?
That's text amendment.
Text and over. Isn't there another word for that? Cured? Cured?
No, it's not
Cured.
No,
that's
No, no, they're-
Yeah.
We'll get to that later.
That's a whole ordinance.
No, yeah, no.
You can petition change zoning or petition change do a text amendment.
Yeah,
So, but that puts the control here, and not a use variance.
right.
We did the same thing for where Wawa is now too, right? The J31.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
That was text amendment.
Right.
How about, I think you gave us some feedback.
Yeah.
I'm not solving anything tonight. They can talk to their client. I'm sure you don't mind them reaching out to Matt, Sean and I. Have open dialogue. I know their team. And, if they have some other ideas, then we can start kicking around. They come back in August and, we can have another sketch where we can have, we'd like to move in a text amendment direction, or hey, no, we're gonna stick with warehousing and
Trust.
Trucks.
I don't do this very often. Do you have enough information from us or you need more from us at this point? Like, it's about as clear as mud.
No, but it's fine, but it's.
You hate everything that.
Yeah. You don't like this, come back with something
Ed said it very well.
And you
I
hate-
knew we were.
We're thinking that.
All the calls I'm getting, like, it's per zoning, but I don't like it, okay? It's-
Well, I go, see, I'm not,
We'll come back
It's a different idea.
with an
I'm not
open, if you
opposed
have
to
an
the
open
warehouse,
mind,
it's the
we'll come back
orientation of the building.
with
That's what I'm
something.
opposed to.
Well,
Can you
they can-
address yeah, I think from what Greg's saying, it's the look of it from the back of the building and the access issues. I don't know how that can be
Yeah.
addressed, but
I'm not opposed, I'm not like Cynthia, I'm not opposed to the warehousing. I'm opposed to the townhomes, but I'm not opposed to the warehousing. It's just the orientation of the building, the way that the lot is laid out, as you've shown. I'm not in.
But what
I know.
if something comes in there that, when they come in with a warehousing idea, that is not what we're all thinking about? And it is bigger trucks or things like that, and we've already said yes to warehousing, that's where I'm going. I will say no to warehousing because of what could come in when you say yes to.
Well, see, I'm not terrified of tractor trailers if access is restricted to the proper intersection. You know, if the loading docks are in an appropriate place where it's, you know, it's aesthetically fits in with
No overnight parking.
no overnight parking lot stuff. I'm not opposed to,
Okay,
you already
then-
have tractor trailers close by because they service Giant.
Yeah,
And
To
the
be
other-
clear, when you're saying the words you use, no warehousing, that's to say that you don't necessarily like warehousing. That's not saying that you're saying they can't do warehousing because
Correct.
they're allowed to do warehousing.
We're just
Just to be
talking,
clear.
we're
Right.
just talking.
Well, I get that. I mean, I understand what we're allowed to do, but I understand you don't want us in a perfect world to do it. So the question becomes, what do we do collectively to figure out something that you can live with, that we can live with? I think you're gonna have to keep an open mind, just like we will. If we're gonna come back with something, it may be, include certain elements that you may not like, or uses you may not like, but maybe the big picture, if we look at it, as Craig recommended, we look at all the pieces that are in play and come up with some larger mosaic that includes everything, then maybe we can find something that has a little bit of everything and still addresses what you don't want us to do. Absent doing that, we're gonna end up doing something you don't want us to do, because we don't have a choice, right?
You have to
So
build
we've been down
something
this
that
road
you
many
can sell.
times. This is not, it's clear as mud, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah. No, I just don't want you to go thinking we're vehemently opposed to warehousing. I think that you have that impression.
That's not the.
Well, we understand.
I didn't
I
say
get
that.
it.
No, I
didn't
know,
say
she didn't say that.
I get it.
but I'm only one, I mean, that's the thing, it's like, I just don't see warehousing, big style warehousing fitting in there. I see small time warehousing fitting in there, but we can't say we'll only allow small time warehousing, the way it's
But there's
written.
a way to,
There's a way to
to
do
zone
that.
it that
Is
That
it?
says
can
that,
accomplish
yeah.
that.
Yeah, that's where the open mind has to come. in.
Yes.
Then that's the open.
I think
mind
the
part.
big thing is, and Bill said it, at 60,000 square feet, you're not gonna get the kind of warehousing that I think you're afraid of, right?
That's,
309.
that's.
Whether you
200,000
dictate it or
square feet.
regulate
Well,
it.
no,
or
like,
not.
we're
I think
looking at
that's-
on Swell's Road on the other side. The Giant building they want to build over there.
large building.
The
not
large
giant,
building, not
as in
giant, yeah.
grocery store, yeah.
On the schoolhouse.
On the other side. As part of the corporate, not the corporate.
Oh,
the-
Oh,
but
you're
it's
talking about
not
that.
all schoolhouse,
back.
it's all
Well, it's,
independent.
yeah, it's all
Yeah.
independent, yeah.
But that's up in the business.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
industrial park.
Yes,
That's-
because that's,
Where you expect.
that's in the
Where you would
playground.
expect to see a
Where you
warehouse.
see it, right.
Look, we'd rather figure something out collectively than be at loggerheads with you guys, but I don't know where that's gonna go, but well, neither do you at the moment. You've told us what you don't like. We gotta figure out what we all can live with, so.
Right.
But we'll take a crack at it. So,
All right.
Thanks.
Very cool.
okay.
You get exposed to all those today.
See, painless.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So, yeah.
Highly recommend the new Britain Inn.
Zoning hearing board applications. Oh, Matt, did you already?
Which one?
Any of them.
July 21st, 2022 meeting, 502 New Galena Road. Who'd like to take the
I'm
reins on
gonna
this one?
turn it over to the township solicitor.
All right.
I don't, sorry, I don't have it in front of me. I was too involved with.
Zoning.
This is the request of a variance regarding the intrusion of woodlands to be on the lot that would be cleared. Applicant would like to remove 2 trees for the construction of a pool and replant the trees as part of the construction. The developer, upon original development of the property, was allowed to exceed the 20% disturbance during the original subdivision, but the ordinance prohibits the removal of more than 20%. So by your ordinance, they're not allowed to remove the 2 trees because it's not the same to say, well, we'll take down those 2 trees, but replant 2 other trees. They're still invading the 20 feet, more than 20%. So under the ordinance, they're not allowed to do that. They're going to zoning to request a variance from that requirement to take down the 2 trees. It is part of their plan, I believe, Craig and Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, to replace and replant those 2 trees. And we've already had discussion that they should do so with native species. So their question really becomes, do you want to oppose or take no position at the zoning hearing board whatsoever regarding them taking down those 2 trees and just leave it to zone?
Does the board have an opinion?
Which is zoning.
All right. That's high for that.
And the staff will continue the recommendation that if and when it is approved, the request is approved by the zoning hearing board, that they would replant with native species that are on our approved planting list.
Public comment.
We have anybody there?
No one here? All right, action items. These are items that we will move through as quickly as possible. All right, let me get my action items. What page is that, Matt?
5.
Oh, 5. Oh, why? Oh,
It's because it didn't have any of that stuff.
yes,
So,
yeah, okay. Here we go. My first motion I will be looking for this evening is for the board to approve the schedule of bills dated July 6, 2022 in the amount of $270,770.01. And authorize the township manager to pay all bills per the attachment.
Make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second,
All those,
I do have a question.
okay.
We changed our formatting now for this bills list,
Yes, we have. Thank you for noticing.
since we now don't list the medical reimbursement separately.
Correct.
Okay, there was a reason to do that.
It was much more simple from a processing standpoint, and with concurrence with the township solicitor, there's no need to keep them separated.
So, okay.
Since it doesn't show actual medical procedures, it's just a name and an expense amount. And I just want to say thank you to John Bates for putting a lot of time and effort into that and getting it in a position where it's a lot more simple on a month-to-month basis. So, thank you.
Yep, this also allows Greg to not read out 4 or 5 different amounts each time and me to do different batches for the reimbursements versus the regular payables. So
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Next action item on the agenda, I will be looking for a motion for the board to approve all items on the consent agenda dated July 11th, 2022, per the attachment. Is there a second? All right, I do have a comment, and I think Matt does as well. There needs to be a change made.
I'll
on the
just
signature
strike
page.
through the names. Yep.
Okay. So do we need to amend the motion to approve?
No.
Okay, we're good for that? Okay, so then I have a first and a second. Are there any questions otherwise on the consent agenda? All right, sensing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carried. Oh, let me get,
Scroll.
now what page am I on? I should have written them down.
As you could
The
just go
bookmarks
back,
are, don't you have?
No.
you can just go back to the agenda since we have no action items anymore.
Oh, do we not? Okay, I thought we had 3.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Oh, I told myself we had 3. Oh, that's because there's 2 consent agenda items. All right. That concludes our action items for this evening. The next set of items on our agenda are information items. We will start with the township manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had completed and forwarded to the board. I know, don't make fun of me, yesterday, the 2 final parts of my operations plan, a plan for the future, one that looked at policy, township policy, and one that looked at funding. I'm hoping that you each get a chance to read through it and communicate to me with any issues that you have with it or any additional details that you'd like to discuss. I'm looking to compile a final report for the August business meeting. You're going to be seeing a lot of different plans start coming to conclusion. The August Board of Supervisors meeting will also have the final draft of the capital improvement program that staff is working diligently on the funding aspect of it. And we have a capital improvement committee meeting scheduled for next Friday, the 22nd. I think that is next Friday, Friday the 22nd, whatever next Friday that is. That's really all I wanted to say about that. And I'm looking forward to continuing to explore better ways that we can become more efficient as a township staff to best hit those needs that the board has identified for core business services. And I will just, if you don't mind, just piggyback with the Parks and Rec Committee, because I wanted to talk about the 4th of July party. Yes, it was a party. Yeah, that unfortunately I was unable to attend. As you can hear, I'm still a little congested. Did not want me around that day. I was so sorry to miss the festivities, and I just wanted to. Yeah, I did. It's an event that I like. That and the Fall Fest are my 2 favorites. I just want to say thank you to Shel Clancy for all of her hard work with the organization of that. And from my sources indicate, both my family and my wife and kids were able to attend also. And they said that it was better than last year's parade. So hats off, and looking forward to our next event, which will be Fall Fest. No more for the summer. And that concludes my report. Excuse me.
To the Park and Rec Board meeting, the report.
Hold on one second. So,
That's what I was asking.
hold on one second. So does that, so you say piggyback, does that conclude that?
I just concluded Township Manager's report and the Parks and Rec Committee.
Okay, so then
Yes.
we just so that I'm
Yep.
track.
Yeah.
So
that's
now,
fine.
wait, so now, we just went to supervisor's comments.
Okay, well, it's departmental report, so I wanted to put it in that part as well, but if. you want me
Okay,
to
that's
do-
fine. Go ahead. Go
That's-
ahead. That's fine.
But-
And we are in the Park and Rec monthly report now.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, that would be the most logical place to put it. Yes, thank you to Shell and all the township employees that worked so hard for the parade. It was a wonderful parade. There was one concern, if we look at the parade float winners, we had St. Jude, won the most patriotic, and then the most humorous was the Chalfont New Britain Democrats, talking about voting rights and civil rights, which is my concern, and it has been resolved with the float winner and through our township to a very satisfactory result. The thing was that most humorous, the people who were at the parade and saw that that float would receive the most humorous, to me was a little off-putting. So I think the result has been that as next year, there will not be certain categories, but maybe a first, second, and a third winner. Because it was as someone who was part of helping build that float, it was quite disbelieving that that would happen. That you would say that's not humorous. I just think it was not the best look. And it's not because of anybody's ill intent or anything. It was just no forethought to think about what would that seem like from a resident's perspective. So that's all I was going to say. Seems like a black eye, but it's not, because the result has turned out to be a better understanding and thinking about next year's parades.
There usually aren't too many humorous floats
Yeah,
in
so-
the parade at all.
Right, so-
Had humorous ones.
If I can add some color to it.
I know I butchered that, but I was
It's okay,
trying to-
it's all good, it's all good.
Incomprehensible, yes.
It was a simple arithmetic exercise, right? And so we have a legacy problem. We have a legacy issue where we have 3 categories for which prizes are awarded for the top 3 categories.
And that's how you enter, isn't it? You enter as a patriotic, original, and humorous.
Yes, yes, you do.
Well, so let me go history on you a little bit further.
Can I just wrap this up?
That's fine. I know, it's just,
I don't need to overcomplicate it. It was a simple arithmetic where most floats, I don't even know if any even applied for humorous, were all in patriotic. And so
There was one that was.
it was vote all the, tally up all the votes. And we're like, oh, well, they were all within what, like a point of each other. And instead of saying, hey, you know what, they're all patriotic, 1, 2, and 3, call it like it is. It was well, we have 3 categories. We've always had 3 categories. Just assign it randomly. Whoever the number 2 was gets the next one. Number 3 gets the other one, without any thought as to how that would be perceived from the public. Learning moment, right? It was a simple mistake, simple error. And it's something that we can use to reevaluate how we do things in the future.
I was reading that in the Bucks County Herald and I was like, that's.
It made it to the Herald too.
Just some, yes, learning that we need to update our
how we can do things
processes
better.
from time to time.
Yes, indeed. Which goes into my policy review, right? Everything needs to be reevaluated and good
I
procedures.
can say that the recipients of that award and the resulting tasty cakes and Rita's Water Ice have decided to donate the tasty cakes to the food order and find a day camp or something to donate the water ice.
Nice.
So, yeah, the end of the story was everything turned out well, but it was a learning moment, and that's all I'm trying to say.
And we appreciate the feedback too. And, it's important for us from a municipal standpoint to understand how things are perceived from the public. And so we can react and we can update our procedures.
And I did realize one thing this year with the parade, that riding in the front, you really don't get to see the parade and know what the heck is going on back there. So it was fun to see the bubble truck arrive full of bubbles and the kids attack it at North Branch and their bubbles on each other. So I guess that was a big hit.
Well, there was discussions to whether they should be in the parade.
Yes, there was. Well, because they thought it was going to go all over the place, and I think they did a good job of containing it, yeah, but I thought it was going to be like big bubbles flowing all over the place.
Kids can run out the road and try to get bubbles.
Well, they were running out in the middle of the road to get other things, but we won't mention that right
We'll
now.
discuss that before we do it.
Yes.
Now. So,
oh, it's all right. It's just no, I'm not cranky. The same exact thing happened over a decade ago and it didn't have to become a public thing. So
It
that's
was
just what.
printed in the newspapers and it was on the Facebook page, so we don't want to create the appearance of bad things.
No, but the heart of the people, and I've been a prior judge who assigned the second place float most humorous just so they would get an award. We just, as I said, it was, as I read that, it was just
incomprehensible to
it
me
just-
why that was, so it just, yeah.
It's what we
that
would do so
examined the
that the-
process.
Yes, so
And now we know that
what we did,
maybe
so,
we need to change the process. No
but
big, no biggie.
yeah, I just, okay, departmental reports.
They have been submitted to the packet and are also in the board's folder. And I believe, Chief, did you have anything you wanted to add to it?
Yes, I do. There's one thing I want to highlight on my report and one thing that I omitted. The one thing I want to highlight is that we will be doing a coffee with a cop at Bagel Barn on July 30th from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. So we encourage you to come out, support us, and tell all your constituents about it as well.
Did you say July 30th?
July 30th is Saturday,
It's a Saturday, and is that, you said 7:30?
7 a.m. to 9 a.m. We'll probably be there a little past 9, but from my understanding, they get really busy around 10, so we didn't want to impact that. The item that I omitted from my report is that the police department will be doing active assailant training at the PSC building. We got permission to use that building while it's vacant. So we'll be conducting that training over the next couple of weeks.
Great.
That's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Very good, thanks, sir. Matt, do you want to? Oh, sorry, is there any
No.
questions for the chief?
Yeah, just one. Are you including other departments with that training?
No, this is something we, given some of the recent incidents nationwide, the leadership team came to me and some of our instructors came to me, and I was already thinking of this. We just wanted to make sure our officers know what to do in responding to those types of situations. In the future, tomorrow I'm going to a presentation about Sandy Hook. So the county is starting to work towards more collaborative efforts. We've been talking about getting emergency action plans for each of the schools in the area, and making sure that we're sharing them with surrounding departments so they understand, what the response is, where we're going to be located and things like that. So there is more of a discussion countywide about more collaborative efforts, and we'll probably start off with some tabletop exercises with key leaders and then develop it from there.
I do have a question also. Are you aware of anything that's going on down at the Bunker Gun Shop last week? It appeared there were like 5 police cars there. And
One in
people
Shawwa.
pulling in and out, cars and trucks pulling in and out. You know, there's a real aware of it.
No, I wasn't really aware of anything.
If I just may make a comment, I think that's a great idea because I think it's vital that the departments coordinate, collaborate, and have a chain of command. In effect, that everyone understands and knows what's going on. We all learn from our mistakes.
Matt, are you going to hand up all the work?
The report was submitted and is a part of the meeting packet.
Got it. Questions about the public work? Not that Matt can necessarily answer it, but.
I do have a question. We had, the township has done in the past, tree trimming on residential streets where the trees are growing out over the sidewalk and the street. Are they going, is that something that's done, or I guess you can put this question to Ryan?
It's in there, street signs.
Signs, I'm not talking about signs.
Well, but it's.
Does
Okay.
it include the street?
Does
visibility.
include the,
Yes,
you know, there's,
yes. Anytime there are visibility issues, public safety issues, overhanging things, yes.
trying to walk and I'm dodging both sidewalks that are lifted up inches and trees that are.
That's property owner management issues. I've had a few questions about that myself. On Schoolhouse Road, there's a couple of trees that are gonna knock your head off if you try to walk on the sidewalk.
Well, I encourage anyone, residents listening, those following along at home, supervisors, submit a request for service. Especially right now when it's a high growing season, it's difficult for us to identify all of these issues. So if you see something out there, just let us know, and we'll respond as quickly as possible.
I will put something in supervisor's comments because we have a very serious issue. So I will circle back. Solicitors report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The written solicitor's report, as is our custom, will be updated by the end of the month. As far as nuggets for you tonight, just two matters. One, as you can see from previously, we are in receipt of the executed development agreement on the county builders property 409 West Butler Avenue. So that project is moving forward. Secondly, I have talked with both the chief and the township manager and taken comments and integrated them into a second draft of a proposed update to the township towing ordinance, which I would expect will be in front of you probably in August, if not September, for your review and approval. So that'll be, look for that on the horizon. Those are the only things I have for now.
Is there any questions for the solicitor in regards to the report or any other items that you're having to read out? Your report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We submitted our July engineers report last week. One addition or change from the reports was issued. Janine and I finished today, or I finished marking up stormwater ordinance, DEP's model ordinance can be adopted, or you can take your own and you put changes. We had a running list of items. So we have Saldo and zoning as well coming, but stormwater is done first. That's actually on a pretty tight deadline. I guess done, adopted in September. So for a planning commission meeting, I'm not sure. Sometimes don't have it presented to planning commission. It's a model ordinance or amended ordinance. I'm not sure how Jeff and Sean feel. But regardless, you'll see that ordinance in August or September. It's be done by the end of September. I will highlight, I actually have two colors. One, you can't argue with me on those. And then there's ones that we recommend, but they're ongoing ones that I think is clarifying where impervious coverage is. The zoning ordinance says one thing, this says slightly different, so there's a chance to get everything matching up. The biggest thing is we're removing the requirements that if you own a 10 any parcel, let's say a 10-acre property, big nice farmhouse, all these outbuildings come to do a pool, and you have to now address stormwater management, all the impervious that's been existing for the last, since it was there. I think we've had a lot of opposition to that. That was incorporated in one of the omnibus that I think just people didn't realize that impact. When he got back involved, that brought it up. So I didn't it's just not fair. I'm doing a pool and you're asking to design for, stuff that's been grandfathered built many years ago. So that's probably the biggest change. We've had a lot of pushback on that. And it's in zoning, so it's can't do much about it. It's also in stormwater, so we start making this change, we'll make sure. We'll do Saldo and zoning together, so I'll present that over the next couple of months once Matt, Sean, Jeff get their eyes on it. So that'll be a slow moving process, but the fall that we'll come get those amendments. So it's not a big omnibus, it's individual stuff that we got talked about. I don't know how much land development we'll have in the next meeting. There are a couple of reviews. It depends on how the July 26th meeting goes. So I'm not sure. There's nothing really they've come and told. Said they'd like to present a revised plan, told me to come in with a by right plan for the project behind Wawa. So you can see by right and then what the relief they're asking and maybe there's any hearing. So
That's the time question.
A plan, sure.
yeah. So no, they'll come.
No, we don't have another meeting until July,
Oh,
August 15th.
for planning commission, which is a couple of smaller.
Yeah.
land developments that might not get 15.
Yeah, July 26th, you said, right?
Yeah. So that's it. So I know.
Questions or other items to discuss? Great. Right. Board of Supervisors comments? I'll start with Stephanie because I know she
I
has
was
one.
gonna say, yeah, I have a request. I think this is something that was done pre-COVID from what I understand and maybe hasn't been done in a while, but it would be helpful, I think, for all of us to have regular reports, whether it's quarterly, I don't know how often, from the outside commissions, water authority, sewer authority. I had a recent example where some neighbors were asking me about something with the sewer authority and I didn't have the information to be able to share with them. So if we could ask our representatives on those boards to give us, just an update on what they've been talking about, what's going on, what's coming down the pipe, so that we can have that information for our residents.
Use that sewer authority.
Coming in September or October. Do a presentation.
Does the board have any preferences to how frequent you would like that update?
It'd be nice to see them once a year in person at least.
I mean,
But I think
like
updates
quarterly.
Updates
quarterly,
quarterly, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we get the minutes from North Penn Water Authority, but it's like, we need to know the stuff that's relevant to us.
Yeah, so you're looking at like a written report from the appointed, the board appointed representative of those organizations. And then like an in-person,
There is no one person from North Wales. Private.
Private, yeah.
We need something from North Wales, we need something from. North
Yeah.
Wales.
And would North Wales do like a stakeholders report type of thing maybe, or?
That's,
Just asking for something.
yeah, that's better. I mean, once a year, if you get the authorities to come in and do like, hey, if you do it at the beginning of the year, what we're planning to do this year. And then the next year they come in, they, I mean,
I think if they're doing things, I don't think quarterlies, if someone started digging in the street, people were asking you. And you're like,
Right.
Yeah, we know at the beginning of the year, they're gonna be doing a water line replacement, down Schoolhouse Road, that way at least we know.
Right.
Going on, coming down the road, so. But I mean, as you say, if you do it at the beginning of the year, what are you looking at to do in our township that's gonna affect our township, our residents?
Well, they would know that by the time they pass their budget, when they
Right.
pass the
right, after
budget.
pass, they come in, stakeholder, that's
Yeah.
how let's do the presentation. Now, I actually, that's something for us too, like North Wales, North Bend. I think we work real close with the authority, sewer, but just to know what's on the radar. I don't
just
know.
so I can be clear, you're looking for, so in my head, there's two different approaches. There's one where you go and ask for a formal presentation by representatives of here, might be their director of engineering come in and tell you what's on tap. But then there's the aspect where we have appointed representatives to these boards, and is the board interested in asking those representatives, I'm thinking the sewer authority, to submit a written report.
It was always better to have John Schmidt.
Okay, all right. I just want to be clear.
Well, I know why, but.
That's not what Stephanie's asking.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
that's
no,
not
I
what
mean,
she
I don't know who has the right information. If it's our individual representatives, then that's who it should be. If
Yeah.
it's someone from the actual authority, an employee of the authority that has more information, what I'm looking for is, the example I had on Boulder Drive, there was a whole bunch of green lines painted and flags marked that were clearly marking the sewer line. I asked Matt, he got one answer, a neighbor called the sewer authority and got a totally different answer, and I don't think either one of them was right. So it would
I've
be
got those in
helpful,
my neighborhood too. I don't
and
know
so,
who's
so
right.
the neighbor called me and said, well, you're a supervisor, what are they doing?
Well, we have people, we have representatives, North Penn and to.
I don't know if they're
Sewer.
the ones that have the information
And
on
if
day-to-day
they-
activities or
If
not.
they
but-
attend a meeting monthly or every other month, a short email or something, it doesn't have to be a formal brief. Just, they're talking about this, or we're talking about that, or they've sent people out.
Or just including the, to the extent the minutes are available, including those in our.
Well, let's take it from another perspective. Our representatives, if we ask somebody from one of the authorities to come and talk, we're then speaking directly to the authority.
Mhm.
We're not going through a medium.
Well, but our representatives are the ones.
They
voting
are,
on
but they
stuff.
might, but they're sitting there as a representative. They don't really have any power. Collectively, they do, but they're one of many. Who do we want
I am
to?
sure that the manager of North Penn would be very willing to come over here once a year, at least to give us a.
that's kind of-
Can we start with that? Can I get
That's a good way to
each
start.
organization to come up and present? And then if you want more, we'll talk about it once they come in and present. How about that?
But the
Is that all
thing
right?
would be the person who comes in once a year, and then every quarter, they give us a small update if they are on schedule to do everything that they're supposed to be doing. Because in that way, it's like, you get it once a year, this is our plan for the year, this is what we've done. And then are they going to be getting to Boulder Avenue in this quarter or that quarter, or they're behind? So that we've got more recent information if things change. 1 year is good. Everything goes ahead.
There's something to be said for being updated as well, yeah,
Yeah.
I like the idea of.
Getting the head honcho coming in, giving us the real lowdown about what's going on, but then actually utilizing some of the people that are more on the ground and say, can you give us an update every quarter? Are you on schedule?
First work session in January. We ask for these reps to come in. And give us, this is what our vision is for this year. And you say once a quarter, just give us an update. Yeah.
I'm sure they already generate some sort of newsletter in-house anyway, so it's probably not asking them to do something special.
Bill, are you talking about the reorg meeting in January?
No, I'm talking about
Work session.
our first work session, yeah, would be January, would be February.
Probably February would be better.
But,
I have a question, if I can speak, Mr. Chairman.
No.
Matt, do you get?
Sorry, I'm not allowed to talk to you.
I know. All right. Do you get, because I'm telling Janine, all the authorities, and I see a list on our review letters of every land development. I don't do it anywhere else because I feel like I'm not, sometimes I don't know which authority, like, especially water around here, you know, and I feel like now, oh, we didn't copy Aqua, and I sent it to North Wales. I don't, that's not my responsibility to make sure every authority, I'm not the gatekeeper of this. Do you get copied on anything?
In response from them?
No, from anything, or like from their engineers, from their.
Not
Yeah,
usually.
so I was gonna cut that out. I was getting tired of seeing that list this long. Like, it's not my job to tell every authority, every utility. As soon as I miss one, we're gonna be sued for it. And I assume that you didn't get copied on the other one, so why, but an update of bigger projects is really valuable for us.
Yeah, because it'd be really nice to know what happened to the Ferry Road water.
There was a good one that came up at a meeting. I don't know, I still don't know. I was told it next year and then it just.
I thought Helen did tell us that there was,
Doylestown was gonna sue
they
it.
were involved in a lawsuit because they wanted them to keep buying the water from Doylestown or something.
I thought it was Doylestown. I don't know.
Something, so that was, yeah.
Lawyers make the world go around, right?
There is some, I know of some litigation between Plumstead and one of the authorities over there.
It's funny that lawyers don't start lawsuits without clients asking. Just thought I'd mention that, right?
I just do what I told.
You're sandwiched between two
I was, there's 3 lawyers up here. What are you talking about?
other than the one that paid for.
Any other supervisors' comments?
I just want to thank all the township and police department for the July 4th parade. Was seems like everyone had a very good time, at least as we went by. And I just repeat the comment I got yelled at. Fix our roads. Which roads?
The state road we were
The state
riding on.
All the state roads that we were riding on,
Kind
they
of-
were all
State
state roads.
roads.
Kind of hard to figure out at that point, you know, to have a discussion about which roads
As you're
you
driving
fix.
by.
Yes. But kudos, you did a great job. The staff. Or police department.
And coordination for 3. I do have something, sort of going off on what Chief said earlier about, well, on 4th of July, we had a wonderful 4th of July parade. And then we go home and we hear the report about Chicago's 4th of July parade. And I get thinking, what would happen here if that happened? How would we respond? And I know I got my emergency management binder when I joined the board. It said it didn't, the last time it got reiterated was June of 2013. So I asked Matt where his binder was, which was on his wall, and I had a look and it was updated in February of 2019. I think we need to make that a priority. We now have tornadoes coming through our coming through close to our township, it could be here. I do not feel like we are prepared to react to any kind of management and emergency management. And I would like to bring that to the forethought of our staff and ourselves, because I think there's a page in there that says, Board of Supervisors, this is what you're supposed to be thinking about and looking at. I don't, and I think we should bring it forward. So I would like us to think that we need to be prepared for things like that. How does chief relate to the other surrounding townships and police departments? How do we relate to the two boroughs that we are surrounding? I mean, there are lots of different things, and I just don't feel like we're prepared. And I'd like to be. Any comments from the other board?
I mean, I'll agree because it's something we need to be, I don't know that we've even yet to find a location for Butler to go to now that we do need to figure some of these things out in a larger picture.
Yeah, they were in discussion with St. Jude's. I don't know if they ever confirmed that.
Yeah, well, the issue, I think, if I recall, was not just a walk, you could cross 202. It's not, the idea is to, that the idea was to bus them. Well, if you're busing them, you're waiting, so you're still in the active situation. So
But that's, this is all the conversations we need to have. And how
now,
to
granted,
decide.
that's a school district issue, but it is part and parcel to all the above. So. Chief?
Yeah, I mean, Matt and I have talked about this, and I know it's one of his list of things. I mean, we were having emergency management team meetings. I think, identifying someone to be the emergency management coordinator is a
We have
big
the one
issue.
that's appointed by the state.
Yeah, it's appointed by the state, but they're not really trained to do emergency management coordination. I mean, honestly, that's the,
He's actually not appointed by the state, by the governor,
Nobody was appointed?
not currently.
I think it was an emergency basis then, or was that
It was
not?
before my time.
I mean, as far as police and fire go, we're trained in this, we're trained on what we're gonna do. I mean, we can guide the board on the decisions that are made, but you still, I mean, the incident is gonna be resolved quickly. It's the after the incident, the recovery portion that takes the longest and is the most in-depth, that you need somebody that knows what they're doing to handle that and coordinate that. So, I mean, it's definitely something that we need to look at. It's something that needs to be updated. It's something that should be rehearsed. So those are all things that, I can tell you right now that, on the public safety side of things, we're going to do what needs to be done. We're going to, use the county assets that we have available to us, which then would create, state assets as well. So those things are already kind of in place and we know how to access them. But again, it's something that, the board does need to be involved in and needs to understand it. It's one of those things that nobody really likes to do. But it's very important that, we have the people that know how to do it.
What happens if our building, our township building gets hit by a tornado? Yeah,
Yeah.
how do we all react to that? How do we continue on from that? And
Considering we're not exactly digitized in a
Mhm.
large capacity.
And I've been attending several of the consortium meetings have had presentations about natural hazards. Heard from Doylestown Township, Horsham Township, and Upper Dublin Township. And to hear it firsthand from them, we are woefully unprepared. And I don't know if any municipality is truly prepared. It's Upper Dublin, that level is nobody can prepare for that. And that was the key takeaway. They're like, there's nothing that you can do to prepare for that aftermath. I mean, if you still drive down there today, it's still, and it's not just even from an emergency management standpoint about how to respond. You get mired in the insurance details and the reinsurers of insurance companies, and it's a big deal. The key takeaway throughout all of the presentations I listened to and talking to colleagues in other municipalities, to have someone who is dedicated solely to emergency management is the best course of action. As Chief said, it takes somebody with very specialized skill sets, one of which none of your currently staff level should be doing, because we have roles to play when an emergency happens as well. And for effective emergency management to be deployed, you need an independent person who then directs all of those other functions of municipal operations. Chief and the police department are going to be doing their thing. Chief of Shell Fund or any other fire departments are going to be doing their own thing, but you need some, I'm going to be communicating with the board, my staff members, Public Works. You need someone to then orchestrate and coordinate who's doing what, when and where, status updates. It really is an important role. I'm not certain we need a full-time person here. And herein lies the challenge with what Chief said. It's difficult to find somebody who does this because it is a specialized thing. You need specialized training. You need NIMS training, National Incident Management System training. You need that certification. Very few people have it. And those who do have it are in larger municipalities where it's a full-time job. So I say all of that to, it's important. It's something that does keep me up at night. I encourage the board to prioritize this moving forward in the near future. My concern is that we won't be able to find that right person yet. And that's going to be our biggest challenge. I don't have any answers for you, but just food for thought.
We have resources available from the county.
If need be, yes. I mean, that's, there's different levels of once you create, like what we did with the tornado we did last year, we created an emergency declaration. Right? So once those things are declared, there's different levels of resources that we then have available to us. Obviously, if we did have during that tornado, we had resources from, the far ends of the county, and even from Montgomery County coming in to assist us. So that's what happens in these situations. We always have those backup systems in place, that are pretty much overseen by the county. And if they need to call additional resources, they call them the state. So in that way we're okay. But like you said, having those plans, like what happens to this building, and I think that was one of the first things I asked during that tornado. Was like, hey, what do we do to prepare for when roads get flooded? And where can we take people if we need to take them? And we ended up taking people to Doylestown, right? Because we didn't have any other place to take them if they got displaced. So those are things, we really need to work out and flush out. What's our alternate operations center for us to operate out of if something were to happen here. And same things as we do with the schools. It's like if we have to evacuate the schools, where are they going to go?
I gather that next month's meeting we'll have the minutes.
Yes.
You and Ed, July?
Yes. Yep. We're not ready for showtime for this meeting. We'll be all caught up by the next meeting.
So since you brought it up, Manor Road, right below High Point Drive.
Mhm.
That entire section of sidewalk is not maintained. I watched a grandmother pushing her grandchild in a stroller and her friend walking their dog, and they were literally, it looked like Indiana Jones going to the jungle. you can't walk on the sidewalk. It's a hazard.
Sit south of High Point Drive.
Yeah, going down the hill towards.
Yeah.
It's overgrown with the entire section of sidewalk there. So,
Put eyes on it.
okay,
Thank you.
thank you. If there are no further comments, is there anything else for staff?
I have nothing.
No, I already asked for public comment. Are there is, I mean, hey, you have any public comments? We're gonna do it twice. No, we're good. Okay, pending no further announcements from staff, I will now say the following. The next meeting of the Board of Supervisors of New Britain Township will take place on Monday, August 15th, 2022 at 7 p.m. here at the Township Building. Agenda and meeting materials will be posted on the Township website prior to the meeting date at newbritantownship.org. As well, the recording of this meeting will be on the Township YouTube page for the next 24 to 36 hours. After all those announcements, I will now take a. I said that before. Yeah,
We will not be reconvening.
correct. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
There's a second.
Second.
All in favor, please say by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you very much.